Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Kamandi, The Last Boy on Earth by Jack Kirby, Volume 2. So last episode we looked at Volume 1. This includes Kamandi number 21 through 40, and that's the last Jack Kirby drawn issue. Once again, very nice production. Got the dust jacket, which I'm going to take off. And just nice all around. So let's crack this open. There's kind of a problem with this book. Well, it's definitely a problem with this book, where they didn't give the pages, what's the word I'm looking for? Enough room to breathe. And for example, like, you really got to crack this open if you really want to see all the art. It's like, I don't know why they didn't give like an extra quarter inch or even a half inch and move the art over. So it's, I would have preferred it, even if it was, the art had to be shrunk a little, because the whole time I was cracking it open, trying, because I want to see every last bit of art, you know? We got the title pages and the contents pages. And this time, we have an introduction from Bruce Timm, animator extraordinaire. And I didn't mention this edition came out in 2012. So it looks like the original might have come out in 2005, because that's when Bruce Timm dates his editorial. But maybe he wrote this for a previous edition of Kamandi. I don't know. Here we go, number 21. Once again, at least for most of this, all the covers are by Jack Kirby, inked by D. Bruce Berry, and the art is as well. That's going to change a little later on. Well, near the end. So, oh man, I love this character's design. This is amazing. So, Kamandi is looking to fish somewhere. He found this lake, and he's planning on catching some fish. And all of a sudden, this guy shows up, and then this weird sea craft shows up. He's on the shores of Monster Lake, which is basically the Great Lakes have all combined. And out of this sea craft, all of these weird looking guys come out, almost like wearing Asian helmets. They almost look like, I don't know, something from ancient China or something. And this guy is taking them all on, this weird looking guy. Such a great design. I love the look of this guy. See, this is the kind of stuff. This guy appears in like an issue or two of Kamandi. I don't think he's ever seen again. And Kirby just makes this amazing, just awesome costume for this guy. And then the next issue, he did it again. He just spews out amazing stuff. I'm going to try to hold these open as far as I can. So then these guys with the helmets, they start attacking Kamandi. And we hear a voice from this thing that looks like a cabinet. And it's basically urging on this this guy Ahab. That's his name, sorry. Ahab is this well-designed character. So he fights all these guys off. They run back to their sea craft, and it submerges and they leave. The guy takes his helmet off, and he's a human. And he quotes Abraham Lincoln. And then the voice from the cabinet says, "I taught him that. That's the only speech he knows." And when he opens up this cylinder, whatever, this thing, a dolphin pops out. So basically Ahab is like his squire. So the dolphins have trained humans to be their, you know, kind of pets. And in this instance, a squire. So he has to strap this giant thing on his back full of water and a dolphin. So this guy must be superhumanly strong. And he starts climbing up this cliff. So now Kamandi's sitting by the lake. He's not following the dolphin and Ahab. And all of a sudden this giant crab comes out. It's quite a splash page. It looks like one of his 50s Atlas monster comics. This could totally be a splash page from one of those. So all of a sudden, it looks like he's in big trouble, but then a rope comes down, and Ahab and the dolphin save Kamandi by pulling him up on this rope. I love this. They see these traveling roots, these plants that have mobility, looking for a place to plant their roots. Just one of the little things that Kirby just casts off from his imagination, his very fertile imagination. And then they see some giant frogs. That's the thing about Kamandi. The action never stops. And then all of a sudden, Kamandi's attacked by this big human guy wearing blue jeans, it looks like, cutoffs. And Kamandi's fighting him off. And then all these other humans come out. God, look at the way Kirby draws these guys. This is very expressionistic almost. And then Ahab shows up and gets into the fray. Some of the cavemen men are trying to open up the dolphin's cylinder. And so finally, Ahab has scared off the remaining cavemen that he hasn't killed, I assume, or at least wounded. And the dolphin is, his cylinder has been ruined. The water is leaking out. So he's got to get to some water. I gotta say, Kirby, I love Kirby, but he's terrible at drawing animals. So many of the animals in here are terribly drawn. I wouldn't even say that's a dolphin. It looks like some weird alien. I don't know. It kind of looks like a dolphin, but it's just not very good. And we'll see even worse examples later on of poorly drawn animals. God, I love this. The coloring effect. This giant firefly shows up. Hot with radiation. And so now the issue ends with Kamandi near this thing called Seaway. Number 22 now. I love that. That looks so cool. Everything about it. The coloring, the Kirby crackle, the way it's luminescent, this radioactive insect. So Seaway, the inhabitants of Seaway come running out. And they rescue Kamandi. They throw him into a radiation-proof cart. And then they scare the giant bug away. And who should it be who's three of the rescuers? It's Ben Boxer and his two buddies. And they horse around with him a little. And then Ahab shows up with Inspector Zeal. That's the name of the dolphin. I forgot to mention that. God, guys, I'm so gross. I keep spitting on my comics. You've probably noticed if you have a good TV screen. I get so excited, I just start spitting up. So they rescue these Seaway, the people of Seaway, kind of take care of the dolphin. They put him in this water bag. And then it's The Way of the Dolphins. So the movie The Day of the Dolphin had just come out. So once again, Kirby is just being infused with all of the culture around him, being influenced by it, and basically cannibalizing on it, on the corpse of all of our popular culture. I love this. So one of the dolphins, she takes a liking to Kamandi. It's a teen dolphin, Tila, and she has a crush on Kamandi. And she says, "Oh, you're really handsome. I hope I get to see you again." So there's some attempts at kind of lighthearted humor. Kamandi eating this weird dolphin food, well, underwater food, like jellyfish cheese and stuff. And he gets And then he crashes out. So here's Seaway. This is such a weird, like, just Kirby, man. His ideas are so kooky sometimes, but also, like, really interesting. Like, this is what a dolphin city would look like. And these dolphins are very advanced. So they can access all kinds of things. Education, social contacts, historical information, theater. So this is almost like the internet, except in it's real, and they can touch it, and just everything's available to them. This is just bizarre. This is very odd, but only Kirby could come up with something like that. So once again, you know, these dolphins are pretty nice, but it's just like, yeah, but this is wrong. You've got all these people who are just kind of pets, kind of slaves, you know. The squires learn how to fight from watching old pre-disaster movies. Looks like they're watching like an Errol Flynn movie or something. So Tila actually says, hey, I applied for a certificate or a permit to make you my squire. And of course, Kamandi's furious. And then Tila is shot by these arrows. And it turns out it's this guy, the Red Baron. Another crazy design. This looks like something Brendan McCarthy would have in like Freakwave. This is really just cool design. Once again, Red Baron, you're going to see him for an issue or two. And then Kirby moves on to create some other great character that he'll dispose of pretty soon. So basically the conflict here is that there's the killer whales who are the mortal enemies of the dolphins. The Red Baron is basically a hitman assassin for the killer whales. So now they're trying to get the Red Baron. Apparently the Red Baron has just been killing dolphins left and right. Like, he's unstoppable. He's a boogeyman. Kamandi and Goliath. So this chase goes on for a while. It's not just Kamandi chasing Red Baron, it's his buddies. And the Red Baron makes his escape once again. So back at the Seaway, Kamandi's recuperating. He was kind of roughed up in that conflict. And they get a call. Red Baron's attacking us again. So now we see that Inspector Zeal guy again, the first dolphin we met. And it turns out that Ahab has died. I guess the strain of carrying Inspector Zeal on his back and injuries sustained during fighting Zeal's enemies, those cavemen, he died. And Zeal, of course, is very sad. Once again, Boxer and his two buddies turn into Silver Surfer clones. Look at that. Silver Surfer face. I was thinking, you know, how great it would have been if Kirby, when he went to DC, just totally ripped off his own stuff from Marvel. Because it wouldn't be really ripping himself off. But, like, just all his popular characters, if he just kind of tweaked them a little. But then, of course, another evil corporation would have them. So it wouldn't really help Jack Kirby, but it would be kind of a nice fuck you to Stan Lee and Marvel. So now our three Silver Surfer buddies are going after the Red Baron. He's got this wicked, like, water foil or whatever you call it. Like a skidoo. And then Red Baron rides right into this live mine and blows up. Chapter 4, Moby Death. That's so dumb. Moby Dick, but Moby Death. It doesn't even rhyme. I love these early 70s color flame effects. And so Kamandi's all by himself. He got separated from his buddies. And he meets this giant killer whale, who of course is intelligent. And he's furious. He's like, Red Baron was our best assassin and you killed him. And this is an interesting ending. Once again, this is something only I think Jack Kirby would do. This killer was gonna kill him, and apparently their whole society is kind of evil and warlike. But Kamandi just says, we didn't kill him, it was your hate, your war that killed the Red Baron. The cost was high for us too, much too high, remembering Tila. And the killer whale swims off. It says, sometimes when the words are right and raw courage is obvious, even death will turn aside. So just an interesting, weird little moment. Comic books usually have to have conflict, but sometimes, even the bad guys are like, maybe they're right. This is a great cover. So just amazing. Look at that. So what are we up to? Number 23? I haven't been, nope, 24. We're up to. It's a pretty nice splash. Kamandi's face changes so much in these comics. Sometimes he looks like this. Sometimes he looks like a little 8-year-old boy drawn by a cartoony artist. So this is almost like a haunted house story. He comes upon this weird looking house. That's a pretty great 2-page spread. That's some great Kirby stuff. This is really odd here. Look at that. This looks like something from an underground. Look, even the shading, which is, usually weird, is even weirder in this. Little squiggles, little sperm squiggles. And so then these people come out. Well, 3 humans and a monkey. Looks like a gibbon or something. And they grab Kamandi, but then the gibbon who's in charge, because these are 3 mindless humans, he realizes that he's like, back off. This guy can reason. He can talk. So these guys, they're good people. This is a good guy. And it seems one of them has mental powers, like psionic powers. He's lifting these rocks up with his mind. One of them's a big bruiser. The black guy's a big, tough guy. And I can't remember what the third one's thing is. We'll find out. So I guess Kamandi keeps attacking them. And because they keep saying that he's a curse. They call him the curse. And he's like, why do you keep calling me the curse? And so they kind of beat him into submission. So I guess this house has been basically possessed. So this is almost Jack Kirby's take on The Exorcist, which he probably just saw. And I guess there's a spirit in the house, the curse, which possesses them. Look at this crazy thing. It possesses the big guy. And look at this craziness here. It transforms him into this brute. So this evil, I guess he's called the evil one. He's just laughing at them. And just like in The Exorcist, when he possesses you, he talks through the person. So this is the evil one who's possessed one of the little kid. And look at that. Just like in The Exorcist, he's like kind of mutating the face. This is a very odd story. It's very strange. So then the curse leaves the boy. The boy's back to normal. And it turns out this bald-headed one, he's the only one who hasn't been possessed. I guess the curse can't possess him. So Kamandi figures out this used to be some academic building, so he's looking through the files, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I guess there was this Project 412 that'll explain everything. Another pretty cool looking character. So finally the guy comes out and attacks Kamandi. Turns out this guy was the end result of Project 412. It was an ESP experiment. So it's not like he's a devil or anything. He's just a telepath or whatever. I guess he's the descendant of the guy who was tested on before the Great Disaster. And when he takes his hood off, it's a cat. A very weird looking cat. So they basically, the big guy shows up, the big brute guy, and he just throws him out a window into the ocean because he says, like, yeah, when you fall asleep, I'm going to attack you again. So they really had no choice. Next, number 25. Look at that, flying sharks. Of course, every kid's going to love this issue. So now he's still hanging out with those dudes, the monkey and the three dudes. I love the way he draws this big brawler dude. He's got a really good face. And then his three buddies show up. The Silver Surfer trio. And, of course, Kamandi's happy as hell. I was saying last time that D. Bushberry's logos aren't as good, but he's starting to get this kind of great font he's got going. And they even get better. I still think Mike Roy's a better logo maker, but yeah, these are definitely an improvement in the logos. So everyone's meeting each other. Basically, it turns out that they're like a circus almost. A traveling acrobatic troupe under the auspices of this monkey. Is this their names? He says Juki, Lukey, Dookie, Alley-oop. I guess that's their names. I didn't catch that the first time I read it. Oh, and this guy's name is Flim Flam, the monkey. So they're doing all these cool tricks. And then, oh my God, look at this. And all of a sudden, this thing comes out of the ocean. This has got to be one of Jack Kirby's wildest creations. It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of goofy looking, but also just like so funny and cool. Just bizarre. I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of. I don't know. It just looks like it would be some like sticker from the early 70s, like when kids loved all the ugly stuff. Like wacky packages and those ugly dolls. So then the creature, another creature attacks the goofy creature, and they both fall back into the ocean. So our heroes are saved. Man, these comics just never stop. So Kamandi's looking for a raft or something to get around in. He finds a hovercraft, and just then he's attacked by another beastie. And I don't know what this is supposed to be. Ben Boxer shows up and saves him. Oh, it's a barracuda. It's a mutated barracuda. And so they're riding around in this hovercraft, and then they're attacked again by some sea creatures. There's like a huge sea serpent. And they escape the animal, his clutches, and they take the hovercraft back to where everyone else is waiting. But then right then the hovercraft conks out, and that's when the flying sharks attack. Look at that. I want to see a comic with these guys again. Flying sharks. Terrifying. It's almost as bad as flying zombies. So, they escape the sharks too. I don't know why I love this last silent panel. It's just a simple landscape shot of this mountain range. It's basically like a giant wall. So now we have number 26. So Kamandi and Boxer are finding all these giant skulls everywhere as they explore this this little area. Look at that giant wall. That's pretty impressive. Excuse me. So they're figuring out a way to scale the heights of this giant cliff. And I don't know how he does this, just dumb luck, but Boxer finds a giant eagle. This story is called The Heights of Abraham. And Kamandi and Boxer get on the eagle, and they fly all the way up the cliff. Of course, Kamandi's terrified. That's some vertiginous perspective there. Kind of nice. So when they get to the top, they find this amazing, well, not a Garden of Eden. It's almost like it's an ecology. He says a tortured ecology has reassembled itself with the violence of a psychotic. So this is Canada, by the way. They're up in Canada now, what used to be Canada. And look at this. It's like nature's gone riot. All the insects and lizards are huge. Just crazy plants are growing. Oh, I love this spread here. This is them surveying this crazy new world. So basically, the border of the United States and Canada is basically this giant radiation wall that separates the two regions. Above in Canada, there's all these like huge insects and stuff. So it's almost good that there's this huge radiation wall because it keeps them from, coming down and attacking people. And then the leopards from Sacker's company show up. And once again, they cause trouble. Boxer and Kamandi gotta beat him down. And giant insects show up and threaten everybody. We see some giant locusts. It's a little callback to Click Clack, I guess. Oh yeah, and Kamandi remembers that. He almost gets a tear in his eye thinking about poor Click Clack. So basically, Sacker's company is up there, and they're just ruining this paradise. They're using defoliant, and they're burning down the vegetation just to exploit it and make money. And of course, Boxer and Kamandi vow that they're going to stop them. And then, where does Kirby come up with this stuff? He's such a nut. And then a giant, not a talking ant, a giant ant shows up with a bulldog dressed as like a corsair or a hussar. It's so crazy. And he talks in English. I'm sorry, with an English accent. He says stuff like, by Jove. Oh my God. So, this guy, I'll get his name in a second. He basically is against, what Sacker's employees are doing. So these guys team up, of course. They both have the same objective. It's just so funny. It's his name's Captain Piper. And he calls his aunt an aborigine. He just says, "Come here, you aborigine." So it's almost like he's like, English soldier, in India or something. Where he's just like, thinks he's above everyone. But he's on the right side. Just non-stop. I love panels like that. Show an explosion and the energy just flowing past them. So, of course, they're fighting the leopards everywhere they can, every time they find them. Here's one of those kind of cool logos. Kind of neat little font he's got going. The little curly cues at the end. So once again, we just got slam bang action going on. And then all of a sudden, it looks like the leopards have got the drop on everyone. And all of a sudden, there's a cave-in. And they all fall into a hole, all the leopards. But it turns out it's the ant, the giant ant. I guess he ate under the ground. This is kind of interesting. The ant touches his antennas to Kamandi's brain. And he sees this whole memory flashback. Almost as if it's like virtual reality. He's like, the horses are going to run me over. He sees this as if it's really happening. So Sakura's guys are still despoiling the land and ruining everything. Killing all these giant bugs. And they've even built like a horrible, polluting, spewing factory. And finally, Piper's compatriots show up. His regiment of a bunch of other bulldogs who wear funny costumes. So now we're up to 28. God, that's funny. I love this guy. What a goof. Here we see all the bulldogs. And actually, they've made an alliance. So all these guys come from Europe. I guess there's a land bridge now between Europe and America. So they've all come from the European area. So we have a German, I believe, gorilla. We have, I believe, a French cat. And he speaks with a goofy French accent. And then I guess the British bulldogs. That's a pretty cool looking costume right there. That's amazing. Once again, we'll see that guy for 10 pages. Kirby put all that work and imagination to this great outfit, and then we'll never see him probably ever in DC history ever again. So now all these three armies are, they all have stupid names like the Britannics, the Germanics, the Napoleonics, and they even mentioned the Grecs and the Turks and the Spandars. So I guess they're Spanish. And we finally see a little map of beyond North America. The snow wizards live up in, I guess, where Norway was. The Sea of Terror. All these scenes of the flora, I just love this stuff, and the fauna. Kirby's just like so good at that stuff because he has such a good imagination. It's like he doesn't just draw big flowers and trees; they're crazy alien trees. I like that panel too of all the giant grasshoppers. So the leopards have all these cannons set up. And they know that a direct frontal assault will be suicide. So Ben and Kamandi sneak around and basically disrupt all the leopard forces. Ben's just ripping cannons apart like tissue paper. And then there's the final epic battle. All of the bulldogs are on the plain with all their allies riding their horses towards the leopards. God, this page is amazing to me. It's not like, all of a sudden Kirby's art's so much better on this page. Just the composition is so perfect. It's so pleasing to the eye. Almost as, even if you blur your eyes here, it's almost like a beautiful abstract piece of art. Just the colors, the way everything kind of fits. It's just, he has so many pages like that. Like this page, nothing to write home about. Just like, okay. But there's something about pages like this, which just like, everything's placed perfectly, and I think Kirby didn't even have to think about it. He just started drawing, and it just comes out like that. And Kamandi looks really angry there. Never seen him look that angry. So this is just a nice, pretty big epic battle. And of course they win. They save the day, all the good guys. And now we have number 29. Look at this. So this is the only one that kind of crosses over with the DCU. Look at that crap logo. This is something from like a really crude Golden Age comic. So now, I kind of love this idea. Boxer and Kamandi find this, whatever you call it, a mural, but it's told in comic strip form. Ben Boxer even says, I don't know how he knows what a comic strip is, but he says, it's the story of a new continent told in comic strip form. And we see this crude representation of Superman. So I guess even in this far-flung future, who knows where Superman is, if he's still alive, but his legend continues. They call him Mighty One. And so I guess during the Great Disaster, Superman mitigated the damage. He was being heroic. He kind of capped some of the fire pits that were blowing up all over. This one says it's an idea suggested from an idea by Steve Sherman. And that was Jack Kirby's assistant in the 70s, along with Mark Evan here. And so then these gorillas show up, some kind of apes, and they worship the Mighty One. We see the shaman there, the priest or whatever. And then their champion, Zuma, just starts attacking Boxer. And the priest says, no, he is sacred. He thinks Ben Boxer's Superman. And Zuma's like, he's not Superman. And he continues to kick his ass, or try to. And so the priest finally gets everything under control. He says, okay, we must put him through the trial. He must demonstrate his powers to prove that he's the Mighty One. And so I guess there's like 3 trials he's going to have to go through. And Zuma's going to go through them too. So Zuma gets flung on a catapult, I guess, to prove he can fly. And of course he doesn't fly. He just gets thrown and he gets all beat up. So Ben Boxer turns into a silver form because he'll be stronger. This is like one of the first trials. He must move the daily planet, this giant globe like rock. Zuma tries and fails. And then Boxer kind of tricks, he kind of cheats. He basically, with his foot, he makes a rivet in the ground so that the giant ball will roll into it, so it looks like he moved it. He pushed it or pulled it, but really it's just rolling into this divot. Then they take out an ancient machine gun and they blast away at him. This is the second trial. And of course he's in a silver surfer form, so he's okay. He turns back to his human form. And I guess they say, open the vault to the super suit. But then Zuma shows up and he's not having it. Because Ben has passed the trials, but Zuma's just a sore loser. And he runs down, he conks him on the head and runs past him down into this underground cavern. And he grabs the Superman outfit and says, it's mine. Zuma claims it for himself. Of course, Kamandi is not going to have that, so he jumps in. Zuma's way stronger than him, so Kamandi's trying to be crafty. He throws rocks at his head. And then finally, Zuma falls into one of these fiery pits. It looks like he's dead. And then Ben Boxer refuses to take it. He says, the mighty one shall appear as his true self and claim it. No one shall touch it till then. So it's a weird little issue. Just it's kind of actually a great Superman issue, because I find Superman comics kind of boring, like especially back then, like most kids did, because he was a god. So there's not much drama. Like, you can't really hurt Superman. But the idea that he's this icon, this powerful image, that's basically what this comic's about. It's like the spirit of Superman. So I actually like it more than your average Superman comic back then, drawn by Kurt Swan or something. So now we're up to number 30. That's kind of a cool 2-page spread. Really taking advantage of all that space. Oh, so this one, I'm sorry. They fall asleep in this thing. They find some kind of, I don't know, whatever this is. And it turns out there's an alien being inside. It turns out they fell asleep in a UFO. They just thought it was some weird little shelter. God, look at that, guys. That is some amazing trippy art right there. That's an amazing panel. I would love to get, without the word balloons, like just a giant poster of that. So, of course, in the 70s, UFO stuff was very popular. Well, Jack Kirby was always into UFOs, though. It's not like he was jumping on the bandwagon there. Some nice cosmic Kirby art. I don't know about that panel, though. It just looks dumb. So they're trapped in this UFO. I like this when the lights go out. The weird Kirby shading and the D. Bruce Berry inks. And then the UFO drops them off on this beach. And there's all these ancient relics of Earth, like ziggurats and stuff from Mesopotamia, it looks like. But then there's modern stuff, and there's a luxury liner, a locomotive, kind of pagoda type building, a bridge. It's just kooky. So they go down there to explore. They find this jet airplane. When they go inside, all the people, the passengers, they're all dead, but they haven't rotted, because I guess it's so cold it preserves them. So it's kind of an eerie little image. And then all of a sudden Kamandi says, "What the hell's that?" He looks up, and there's like a portal in the sky, and it starts sucking up all these gigantic things, like a whole skyscraper. And then the jet plane that they were in gets sucked up through it. And then that alien from the UFO shows up again. Boxer tries to fight him. Kamandi helps out. And Kamandi rips his helmet off. And we find out that this alien is just like living, cohesive energy. Boxer calls it the ultimate life form. He's basically just like he has no body. And then when Kamandi wakes up after this explosion, he's like, "Oh, what happened?" And he says, and he's looking for Ben, and he finds Ben. And this is the cliffhanger. We see this giant hand, and Kamandi's like, "Ben?" Number 31. That's another kind of logo. I don't know, actually. I don't know if I hate it or love it, actually, because it's so kind of wonky and weird. Maybe I do like it. So Boxer's giant, and he's in silver form now. And then right then, Dr. Canis shows up. Now, it seems like Boxer, he's kind of like not himself. He's kind of turned into this dumb giant. The Gulliver effect. I think these pages stuck together. So, yeah, so Boxer even he tries to kill them with these beams out of his eyes. And then he walks off. So he's got all this, he's even more powerful, not just because he's bigger, but it seems like he's more infused with radiation. When he walks down the beach, the sand turns into glass. That's how much energy he's pumping out. And so Kamandi tells him what's happened. He says, yeah, we were in this UFO. And Canis, of course, is fascinated because he's a scientist. And then Prince Tufton shows up and his tiger army. His poorly drawn tiger army. And they start attacking Giant Ben, Boxer. It looks like to no avail. Kind of unstoppable. Guys, you know what I forgot to mention? That first story with the dolphin and his squire. I wanted to bring up, have you guys ever saw my videos about Echo of Future Past? The anthology comic from the 80s? There was a comic in there called Hom by Carlos Jimenez. And I think that was written and drawn after the early 70s, but I could be wrong. But in that, there's a dolphin who's carried around by this poor little human, this old man. The dolphin's very malicious, very different than Inspector, whatever his name was, Zeal or something. But it's something so similar about that idea that this dolphin is not trying to make his way around land, but being carried by a human lackey. So I'm very curious if, someone copied the other. I don't know. That's a nice splash page there. So now Dr. Canis is trying to escape the grasp of Giant Ben Boxer. And then that weird energy alien shows up. So Prince Tufton and Kamandi are like, okay, we got to rescue Canis. They're on the Tiger ship, the head of the fleet. And then Ben Boxer basically walks into the ocean. He kind of reminds me of Dr. Manhattan in these scenes, the way he is just walking around. And he attacks the ship. Look at him here, just totally capsizing the giant ship. And then something happens, I can't remember, but the radiation goes away, or I guess it was a temporary transformation, and now Boxer's back to normal. And we end the issue with Canis talking to the energy being. It seems like he's befriended it. So now here's number 32, which was a giant comic. Reprints Kamandi number 1 in here, and has a photo spread about Jack Kirby. But we're not going to see that in this book. So now, Kamandi's hanging out with Tufton and the Tigers. How terrible that is. Some of these faces are really bad. But overall, I really don't care. These stories are so action-packed, and Kirby's layouts and stuff the storytelling so impeccable. I can look over, I don't really care that much. It would be nice if they were better drawn. Also, Dr. Canis barely looks like a dog. I don't know what, he looks like a Razorhead's baby almost in some of these panels. So it turns out this alien being, he just wants to go home, this energy being, because he's communicating with Dr. Canis. So this energy being says, oh, I kind of need you, you're a scientist, to Dr. Canis to help me get home. So we realize that now Tufton, he's grown up since last he saw Kamandi. Because I guess when he met Kamandi, he was like a teenager, a teenage tiger. But now he's he's been conquering lands for his father. But he still has a good laugh with Kamandi. So he's still really good friends with him, but he's hardened a bit. So now, the gorillas show up again. and they start attacking the tiger fleet. This is some amazing shit here. This is total action. And even on land, they're attacking our heroes. Oh yeah, the leader of the gorillas is named Ram Jam. Oh, Black Betty, Ram Jam. There's Ram Jam in all his glory. I like that headshot. It's with all white around it. So the gorillas on land, led by Ram Jam, it looks like they've beaten our heroes. All the heroes are knocked out. But Kamandi wakes up. And he tries to fight off Ram Jam, but then just runs away because he knows he can't. He's not strong enough. He makes it to the UFO. That's weird. There's some weird shading going on there. And he says, Dr. Canis, I need your help. So, basically, Dr. Canis tells Kamandi that he struck a deal with this alien. We'll find out soon enough. And so the alien is going to pitch in on the good guy's side against the gorillas. So the gorillas approach this UFO with Kamandi and Dr. Canis standing outside. And then all of a sudden, I guess the alien makes a shape for itself out of the sand. This giant kind of golem almost, sand golem. Look at it there. I love this creature. He's so kind of cuddly. He has the proportions of a toddler. And so Ram Jam throws a hand grenade at it. And then the alien turns into its actual energy ball form. And it starts zapping energy bolts at all the gorillas and Ram Jam. So there it is. It just looks like a big wall of energy. So now the gorillas have been defeated. They make a march into the UFO. And then Tufton and Boxer show up. And so we find out what the deal was. So the alien helped them because the alien somehow needs Dr. Canis' help to make a body for itself. And it wants to fashion its body after Kamandi. Not necessarily Kamandi himself, but a human. And I love this. This is such a Kirby thing. Next, the birth bag. That just sounds gross. So now the war between the gorillas and the tiger armada is, the lead ship in the armada, just the battlecraft, is still raging. But Kamandi and Canis are on the shore watching. They can't get over there, so they're worried, but they also have to deal with this alien. So now we get some really just a kick-ass action. It's just like a great naval battle. And every panel is just kinetic, crazy shit going on. And so if you remember last time they captured Ram Jam, so he's a prisoner of war. So now the gorillas have boarded the vessel. So it turns into hand-to-hand combat. So, of course, Boxer's helping them out. And finally, the gorillas are repulsed. Back to Kamandi and Canis. Oh, I love this right here. The design and the colors, that's amazing. And then look at this kind of groovy-looking thing. So he's basically talking about how he's going to help her make a body for herself. Converting her energy into mass. That's some great Kirby technology there. Really fun stuff. Lots of groovy Kirby stuff all over this shit. Oh, I love that panel too. Just as abstract art. And I don't like that face, though. But now we're back to the ship, the tiger ship. And basically Tufton says, okay, they're going to attack us again. We got to get ready, but I've got an ace in the hole. And it's Ram Jam. So he's basically going to use Ram Jam as a hostage. And tell the gorillas if they don't back off, they're going to kill him. He straps dynamite to his chest. I like how he says, yeah, I'm going to shoot him, and then I'm going to blow him up. Like, the bullet will do it. Here's some more groovy, weird techno shit. As the energy being is in this pod, and it's making its body. And then the cliffhanger as we see a hand come out of the energy pod, or whatever it is, and grab Kamandi. So from now on, Jack Kirby does the covers. I'm sorry, Joe Kubert does the covers, which must have been a kind of a blow to Kirby's ego, which is so weird because it's like 6 years earlier, you know, Marvel wanted him to do every cover if he could. But I guess DC was just like, yeah, this Kirby, yay. Nobody likes him anymore. So this is the energy being, the alien energy being is now Pretty Pyra, as Canis dubs her. Kind of cute. And she can't really walk around yet. She's getting used to her body. And Kamandi just says something like, oh, she's helpless, like a newborn baby. And she gets furious and she says, I'll show you who's helpless. And she like almost tries to kill them with her energy beams, just like fire. So they're both running away from her like, don't get her angry. Canis is like, shut up, Kamandi. Stop talking back to her. They also bring up in this storyline that, Canis is like a dog. He whines when he's scared. And he even says like, oh, I guess it's part of my, my ancestry. So now back on the ship, Tufton is getting ready for the second wave of attacks. And look at this crazy thing. The gorillas have this giant ramrod thing that's going to split the warship in two. And Tufton gets his megaphone and says, this is the deal. You guys back off or we're going to kill Ram Jam, your leader, your admiral. Boxer's totally against it. He's like, you can't do this, Tufton. So, because like I said, like Tufton's changed. He's not the happy-go-lucky, prince anymore. He's a leader, a war leader, He's a general, basically. And he's willing to do anything. Even kill a prisoner of war. Back to Kamandi and Canis. They get on the UFO. I love the interiors of this UFO. Really interesting Kirby designs. And I guess Canis figures out how to operate this UFO. Yeah, he must be really smart. And basically Kamandi's like, let's use this UFO to get over to the battle and help out our friends. What's her face? God damn it, I already forgot her name. The Pyra? Whatever. Pretty Pyra. She says, no, don't. You mustn't fly the ship. It's too dangerous. But they don't hear her calls. And they fly out to the ship where this tense moment is happening. And Ben Boxer unties. He frees Ram Jam. Because he doesn't want this, horrible travesty to happen. Ram Jam dives into the water. Tufton tries to shoot him, but he makes it. And he's like, Boxer, you did this. But then the UFO shows up. And turns out they didn't need Ram Jam after all as a hostage. Because the UFO gets right in the way of this giant ramrod ship. And it actually is destroyed just by hitting the UFO. The UFO is totally indestructible. I need some water, guys. This is a long video, sorry. And then Pyra shows up and finishes the work that the Kamandi and Canis started. And she basically kills a lot of the gorillas And then the rest of the guerrillas take off. They're like, we can't fight this shit. We're done here. And so then Pirate takes control of the ship, and it just vanishes in thin air, with Canis and Kamandi in it. Another Kuber cover. Pretty nice. So at this time, the Soviet space station Soyuz was in the news a lot, all through the 70s, mid 70s. Not a fan of this splash page at all. It's pretty weak. But look at this, guys. Look at the amazing line work here of D. Bruce Berry. It almost like looks like John Totalbin. Just all those lines, giving it that like lustrous effect. So it's Earth seen through the atmosphere. And when I turned the page earlier today when I was reading this, I was like, what the fuck? Where did this come out of? Like, this looks like nothing in this book. The artwork. Pretty nice. So this one's called The Soyuz Survivor. Once again, those little curly cues. Who has lettering like that? Is it Richard Sala? It reminds me of some cartoonist. So basically, Pyra's got them in the UFO. And she kind of just leaves. I don't know where she goes. But Kamandi and Canis say, oh my God, that's Soyuz. Of course, Kamandi recognizes it from his goddamn tapes. His microfilm library when he was a kid. He knows everything. And they figure out a way to make like a hatch from their UFO to the Soyuz space station. They pump it full of oxygen. They're both basically just curious as hell. They're like, we got to go in there. And they find an astronaut, a cosmonaut, I should say. And he's just sitting there in a lotus position, which, once again, Kamandi knows what that is. He knows it's used in yoga. And then Pyra shows up. Pyra seems to be not only omnipotent, but omniscient. She seems to know everything. She can do anything. She almost has the powers of a god, it seems. So she basically knows, she says, this guy survived by slowing down his heart rate. I mean, there's hundreds of years this guy's been living in this airless spaceship. Well, I guess he does have a... Well, he would have ran out of oxygen. But Pyra, brings him back to life. Guys, this is one of my favorite pages. This is nuts. This is some, Charles Burns shit going on here. So the cosmonaut awakes, and he squeezes out of his helmet, and he has basically no bones left. And he's just almost like Plastic Man. Look how crazy that is, how repulsive and weird. So he attacks Kamandi with his crazy stretchy fingers. Canis tries to help, and he attacks the creature. And then the creature envelops Canis. It's like sweating acid, so when Kamandi grabs it, his hands are burning. But then luckily Pyra shows up, and she uses her flame powers, and it runs away. I just realized that Pyra could be a distant cousin of Volcana Ash from Killraven. They're very similar. Got to see some more Kirby machinery. And they hear the tapes. So these guys were up in space at Soyuz when the great disaster happened. So we hear their voices saying, what's going on down on Earth? Oh my God. Everyone's dying, our wives and children, but we're stuck up here. So they leave. And they leave behind Leonid Vasilov, the cosmonaut. And this is such a kind of a poignant ending. He so I guess this astronaut, this cosmonaut, he was it turns out Soyuz was basically a giant weapons platform. So in any event of a nuclear war, which they thought was happening on Earth, they thought it was the big one, he was supposed to, drop a salvo of atom bombs on America. And he never got to do it because the shockwaves from the great disaster kind of knocked their ship off kilter. But here he is, he's kind of half brainless. he turns into a humanoid form so he can finish his final task, his duty. And we see him try to arm the doomsday weapon. But radiation from Earth has long since rotted the parts to harmless junk. Still, Vasilov will fumble with it as long as necessary, working uselessly forever in the eternal night of starlit space. So just the sad idea of this, like, I don't know, kind of brain-damaged goon just slowly trying to make this thing work. It's never going to work for all eternity, maybe? Kind of sad ending. Nice Goober cover. This is a very interesting issue, if I'm correct. Yes, The Hotel, it's called. And this totally... Well, I'll tell you in a second. Let's get back to the plot. So they're back on Earth. Pyra has taken them back to Earth. They're relieved to not be in outer space. And then, so they're basically in Mexico now, in like Acapulco. And they find this giant old hotel from the pre-disaster era. And it's pretty much whole. There's some damage here and there. So Kamandi jumps into the pool to cool off, and these alligator people grab him. These poorly drawn alligator people. Or crocodiles, I can't remember which are the ones down there. God, look at these. It's like so cartoony. And they're kind of talking about how, like, this is our pool. And then a leopard shows up. And it seems like the leopard's in charge, where he basically says, hey, leave this guy alone. The leopards are in charge. You guys work for us. He says, you can file a complaint with my chief. So we find out that this hotel, this is totally, this is what this reminds me of, this weird concept. It reminds me of like J.G. Ballard or something. I can't remember the name of that book he wrote, but it was turned into a movie like 5 years ago. But it has this crazy thing where the leopards run the hotel. It seems like they don't even get money. Like Kamandi doesn't pay them, but their motto is the customer is always right. So they end disputes there, but not all disputes, because in this hotel, might makes right. So we see these humans, human thrown off the balcony from level 2. And we see the wolf people using like staffs to like basically chase the humans who have been on level 2. So in this weird hotel, you have the right to lodge there, but anyone else has the right, if they're stronger than you, to push you out. So that's what we see here. I like these goony humans. Look at this guy. He's like, arr. And so the wolves win, so they get the floor. And the leopard says that's the way it is. That's the rules. So, we don't interfere, but there's no killing. So you can't use like guns or knives and murder the people. Because, So I don't even know, what are these humans doing for the leopards? They have no money. They're like dumb brutes. But it seems like the leopards don't seem to care about remuneration. It's a very odd concept. So Kamandi says, okay, I want the right to try to take floor number 2. Basically, he's going to take it back for the humans just by himself. So he goes to the weapons room, baseball bats, and then Kamandi makes this concoction kind of in a tank on his back with a nozzle. It almost looks like a flamethrower, but it's not. And he goes up to level 2. The wolves all come out. One of them has a knife. He broke the rules. But he figures it's just a human. And then Kamandi douses him with the shit in his tank. And it's like some super crazy paste, epoxy. And they're kind of can't even move or barely move. So they all run to the pool to wash the shit off. And they get attacked by the crocodiles. So Kamandi played them like fools. And so Kamandi gets the second floor. He wins. And he invites all the humans to come back. Very weird issue. So now we have number 37. And I believe this is the last issue written by Jack Kirby. So this is, I love this. just the design on this page, very interesting. Even though I'm not thrilled with the way he drew Kamandi. So Kamandi's walking around the desert by himself. He's with Canis and Pyra, but they're off doing something. And he sees a whole herd of humans migrating. He runs back to Canis and Pyra to tell them. Another panel that I just strangely love, and I don't know why. The way these rocks are shaded. And I guess there's speakers in the rocks in this desert that are, it's playing music that's urging these humans to migrate. It's almost like luring them in a certain direction. So they all decide to figure out what's going on. Kamandi decides to join the herd as one of them to get to the bottom of this. I believe Pyra goes up in her UFO. I like the face on this guy. He's just like, And then Kamandi sits down to rest next to another human who sat down to rest. Kind of a fetching young woman. Kamandi tries to basically meet her and greet her, but she's, a human in this future. She's just like, she can't speak. And then all of a sudden these bike riders show up, kind of on trikes, and they start trying to grab the humans, saying, "This specimen's mine. Just pick out the healthy ones." And of course they're chasing Kamandi. Kamandi tricks one of them into riding right into this crater where he's totally knocked out. Kamandi gets his gun and then starts fighting back. He also gets his trike. So these guys are called the Red Riders. And we got some fun action here. Almost Road Warrior type stuff. One of the guys has grabbed the pretty girl. And so Kamandi's trying to rescue her. And then a gunshot rings out. A bullet creases Kamandi's skull. He's knocked out. And the Red Riders now have him. So the Red Riders are human. It's very strange. And they can totally reason. They're smart. So now they cage him in their settlement or whatever they have. That's another weird shading thing. It looks like he has a black eye. And so we find out from one of his captors that this society, they only live to be 5 years old. And that's why Kamandi's very valuable to them. He's the first reasoning human they've ever seen. And obviously he's a normal human, so he's going to live past 5. So meanwhile, Pyra and Canis are in the UFO, looking for Kamandi. And a cannon comes out and shoots them down. And they fall into the darkness of this pit. Now back to Kamandi, his captor, his jailer, is leading him to talk to the Grand Poobah, I guess. And all of a sudden he says, shit, it's my time. I'm dying. So I guess he's 5. And he just dies. So these little kids show up. Well, various ages, but I guess they mature within 3 years. And then they have 2 years left as adults. So it turns out the leader is this little baby. He's like the Grand Poobah of this place. And then we're introduced to Arna. So we'll find out the importance of her later. Basically, these guys want to, somehow mix with Kamandi so he can help them live past 5 years old. They're placing all their bets on this. They really think that after all these years, this miserable short lifespans, Kamandi can help them with his blood or something. I don't know. So they've got him in custody. Now back to Canis and Pyra. It looks like the UFO, which seems so indestructible, is destroyed. So they're walking around. Canis is reverting to his whiny dog form. And so Pyra very astutely says, yeah, it seems like whenever you're scientifically curious, you stop whining and you stop, having anxiety. So let me tell you about my planet and where I come from. So I guess we get this weird little just mini sci-fi story where on her planet, everyone's like her, but they can turn into humans to do certain tasks, humanoid shapes, but then they ran out of energy. The planet ran out of resources. Their sun was a giant bloated red giant. So people just started dropping dead. They couldn't get enough energy. The sun wasn't pumping out enough energy. And they sent her, this woman, to Earth. And she got here pretty much right when the Great Disaster happened. So then we see her collecting all that crap. It doesn't really explain why. What does she say? Hoping the scientists there could discover the power source of the world's great disaster by sending them random trains and skyscrapers. I don't know. It's kind of a dumb thing. Once again, I think it's one of the things that Kirby was just like, I'm on to 10 other things. I didn't really think it through. So now Arna's showing Kamandi around. Basically, Arna's taking him into custody. And they've been like, okay, but if he escapes, Arna, you're dead. We're going to kill you. So she tells Kamandi to put his hand in this machine. And she puts her hand in the other slot at the other end. And it kind of zaps Kamandi. It doesn't hurt him, though. His hand feels a little numb. And she tells him, she says, soon you're going to be a father. That's the way we just mixed DNA. And a baby's going to come now. So Kamandi freaks out. And typical man. And then he runs away. I really like that panel, too, right there. Here's some of that weird shading. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And Arna's looking for him, of course. And then Arna almost says, like, oh, you're responsible for him escaping. You'll be the one who's killed to this dude. So he's like, fuck you, you're not going to pin it on me. And then he tells everyone else that Arna let Kamandi escape. So the whole settlement is chasing after Arna, trying to kill her. She pleads with Kamandi to save her. He gets on a motorboat and he lets her come on. And they escape. And right then, a giant lobster comes up. Oh man, Jack Kirby doesn't let you catch a breath. The lobster claw crushes the boat and pulls Kamandi and Arna down into the ocean. So we have number 39. Oh, guys, I forgot to mention, this issue was the first one written by Jerry Conway. Let me double check on that. Yep. So now Jerry Conway's the writer-editor. Jack Kirby's the penciler, but Mike Royer is back on inks. Which is weird, because all this weird inking is going on now. I thought that was mostly D. Bruce Berry's job, to do weird inking splotches. Still Kubrick covers, of course. So now that continues, that creative team, and we see Arna and Kamandi being dragged down to the ocean. They're running out of oxygen. The lobster starts telepathically communicating with them, saying, don't worry, we're almost there. And he takes them down to this undersea compound and deposits them in the aquarium. And there's all these other humans there, but they're stupid humans, dumb brute humans. Of course, Kamandi once again is like, I'm not your pet. I'm a human. And then this giant snail shows up and flips Kamandi like a judo flip. Meanwhile, Canis and Pyra have finally climbed out of that hole where the UFO crashed. And these lizard men, incredibly poorly drawn lizard men, say, hey, you guys, we're about to head back to our village. You want to come with us? They seem pretty friendly. But it's so sad that, like, just by their lizards and the way they're drawn, I knew they weren't friendly. And, of course, spoiler alert, they're not. They act friendly, but you'll see. Back to Kamandi and Arna. So, some hijinks with the humans. Basically, the big alpha human here, I think his name's Smasher or something. And it turns out he's one of Sacker's trained humans. So he knows a few English words. So he wants Smasher to help them break through this wall to freedom, even though they're way underwater. So it just seems crazy. But then again, you know, a lot of people risk death for freedom. And meanwhile, outside, the snail and ascension clam. Look at this guy. They're just like looking in at the, you know, because it's an aquarium. They're just looking at the humans, just like, oh, look how interesting they are. Now we're back to the gorillas. The gorillas are still at it with their armada, still attacking Prince Tufton. Prince Tufton's about to not accuse, he's going to try Boxer for sabotage. You know, he freed Ram Jam. And Tufton, we don't know the answer, but he says, "Did you ever think that maybe I was bluffing?" So maybe Tufton isn't as hard bitten as we think. He probably, I have a feeling he wouldn't have killed Ram Jam anyway. So Kamandi starts punching the glass. This snail and some other undersea creature with the clam, they basically laugh at him, which infuriates Cajero. Cajero realizes, hey, there's a boulder up there. I can use this. But him and Arna combined can't push the rock. So finally Kamandi gives Smasher a spirited speech about freedom, almost like Spartacus would do. He's like, men are supposed to be free. You're a man. You gotta believe me. No human's supposed to be in a cage their whole life. Do you understand, Smasher? And Smasher says, I understand. I will help. So with all of them, they push the boulder. It rolls down and crashes through the glass. So all the water rushes in. They would all be dead. This is crazy. So the lobster shows up. Smasher starts fighting him. Everyone else swims to the surface, but Smasher's struggling with this lobster dude. So when they make it to the land, they realize, oh, Smasher hasn't popped up yet. And all the other humans just run off. They don't even care that Smasher does sacrifice himself. And then it has this like kind of sappy ending where Arna says, I think Smasher is the only one who'll ever know what it really means to be free. And so now we have the last Kirby drawn issue. Kubrick cover, of course. He draws the Lizard Men way better than Kirby. The Lizard Lords of Los Lorraine. So they're still in the Mexico area, what used to be Mexico. Kamandi and Arna are attacked by a giant parrot. Kamandi throws a rock at his head. This is called the Sun Machine, which is a really nice warrior logo there. That's so Mike Royer. You can tell that from a mile away. So Kamandi succeeds in scaring away the giant parrot. And now we cut back to Canis and Pyra. They've made it to the lizard village. Let Sleeping Lizards Lie is the title. And because it's Mexico, we see like a siesta. They have a siesta. Apparently these lizard people need warmth. And Canis asks, what do you do at wintertime? And they say, oh, we go up to the top of that mountain, the Sun Peak. And there's always enough warmth up there. God, these lizard people are so crappily drawn. And then we see these burrows. And Pyra says, wait, those burrows are intelligent. They talk. Why do you have them penned up in a corral? No intelligent creature should be caged like a wild animal. And they say, oh, they're just, they're criminals waiting for their punishment. And they're the burro that rode them in, he says, lies, lies. He tells you lies, senorita. Oh, I forgot to mention, he has a Mexican accent. It is a lie, senorita. And so the lizard tries to hit him, says, shut up, you ungrateful. And Pyra stops him. And they go to meet the Grand Poobah of the lizard people, Prince Gila, who's just as badly drawn. And they put a net on Pyra. We realize their evil intentions. She burns through it easily. She torches the whole place and flies off. And I like this. And then we see Canis. The narrator says, she may be forgiven her one careless oversight. We see Canis. Pyra? What about me? She just totally ditched Canis. I mean, she's an alien, so she doesn't think like we do. Back to Khazar and Arna. They have hunted down some food, chowing down, and a bunch of the burros show up with their Mexican accents. And then they attack them from behind. It turns out they're bad burros. Which they don't even show it. Like, we just see these burros. Like, Kamandi's fought giant lobsters and shit. And a bunch of donkeys or mules, just knock Khazar and Arna out. So they take these donkeys, I guess, work for Prince Gila. And they take Kamandi and Arna to his chamber here. So they basically want Kamandi to go to Sun Peak and get this object, which will, supposedly it's made of the sun, so it'll keep them warm. Because I guess it's getting colder or something. They're worried about becoming extinct. So they blackmail Kamandi into doing it by threatening Arna. Kamandi gets attacked by vines on the way up there, so even flora in this future world is dangerous. And he finds it, the sun machine. And he puts it on this sled and sleds down this mountain that he just climbed. And the lizards are thrilled. They're so thrilled that it's giving off warmth that they totally ignore Kamandi. Kamandi says, I'm just walking out of here. God, look at these poorly drawn lizard faces here. And so they don't have to fight their way out. All the lizards are so excited. Like, let me stand in the sun machine. But then as they walk away, we find out that the cold of the mountaintop, I guess, kept that sun machine stable. Turns out it's not a sun machine. It's a nuclear breeder reactor. So as they walk away, they look back at the village. The whole thing blows up. All the lizard men are killed. And that's the end of this fat book. This is really nice. We get really good bios of all the contributors. Even Joe Cooper, the cover artist. And there you go, guys. That's it for Kamandi, The Last Boy on Earth by Jack Kirby, Volume 2. Hope you guys like looking at this with me. I had a good time for sure. But I kind of want to see what happened after Kirby left, just see what they did with it. But I probably don't. They're probably not very good. Even some of these aren't very good. But after this, Kirby went back to Marvel. And it's kind of sad that he couldn't even write the last 3 issues of his comic. I don't know if that was his choice, but the way DC treated him so shabbily, I wouldn't be surprised. So he showed up at DC in 1970 with such high promise. He thought DC was going to be a better fit for him. He'd be appreciated more, but that was not the case. So he went crawling back to Marvel, and then he was treated like shit there. So it's kind of sad story. Kirby's the latter half of his career, or latter third of his career, because he had so many parts of his career. He reinvented comics like 5 times. So I'm just excuse me. Well, I lost my voice there. So I'm rambling. Sorry about that. Let's wrap this video up. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.